오제샤비 공판유독쇼. Okay, so let's just do the four measurable, limitless contemplation. May all beings have happiness and create the causes of happiness. May they all be free from suffering and creating the causes of suffering. May they find that noble happiness which can never be tainted by suffering. May they attain universal impartial compassion, free of worldly bias towards friends and enemies. Semjen tamji dewatang deweju tang den pajutik dungal tang dungal chichu tang drawajutik dungal mepe dewa tampatang mindra wajutik nearing chak tang ni tang drawe tang nom chembola ni pajutik. Okay, everybody. So today I'd really like you, I said, to switch on your cameras. I know Nicola's driving so that I can really look at your faces. We're going to do changing our lives through understanding the nature of space, light, and appearance. Such an important topic. And also for you, Nicola, that you're driving and can't come on, very important to know that I'm going to base it on Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche because he gives such a beautiful, easy explanation to understand who you really are. And so I've used him as a base, but then as it always goes with me, then I pick up all my other notes from other places all the time. And then in the end, I've got a great big amount of stuff to give you. But I want to use his as the base because I think it's really, really important. And I think this subject matter is kind of when you are deciding either you're going on with another 100 incarnations or you're done with it and you really want to understand who you are. And there is a shortcut way, but you have to have merit to understand the shortcut way. You have to have enough merit to really understand it. Otherwise, you don't get it very easily and it'll mean nothing to you. But I'm going to start off with one of Thich Nhat Hanh's stories, which I think really tells the whole story of what I'm trying to say today. And I think it's beautiful. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful river finding her way among the hills, forests, and meadows. She began by being a joyful stream of water, a spring always dancing and singing as she ran down from the top of the mountain. She was very young at the time, and as she came to the lowland, she slowed down. And I hope you'll take this story and look at yourself. She was thinking about going to the ocean. As she grew up, she learned to look beautiful, winding gracefully among the hills and meadows. One day, she noticed the clouds within herself. She did clouds of all sorts of colors and forms. She did nothing during those days but chase after clouds. She wanted to possess a cloud, to have one for herself. But clouds float and travel in the sky, and they're always changing their form. Sometimes they look like an overcoat, sometimes like a horse. Because of the nature of impermanence within the clouds, the river suffered very much. Her pleasure, her joy had just become chasing after clouds one after another. But despair, anger, and hatred became her life. Then one day a strong wind came and blew away all the clouds in the sky. The sky became completely empty. Our river thought that life was not worth living, for if there were no longer any clouds to chase after, she wanted to die. If there are no clouds, why should I be alive? But how can a river take her own life? That night, the river had the opportunity to go back to herself for the first time. She had been running for so long after something outside of herself that she'd never seen herself. That night was the first opportunity for her to hear her own crying, the sounds of water crashing against the bank of the river. Because she was able to listen to her own sound voice, she discovered something quite important. she realized that what she'd been looking for in all the external things was already in herself. She found out that clouds are nothing but water. Clouds are born for water and will return, are born from water and will return to water. And she found out also that she is also water, she herself. The next morning, when the sun was in the sky, she discovered something beautiful. She saw the blue sky for the first time. She'd never noticed it before. She'd only been interested in the clouds, and she had missed seeing the sky, which is the home of all the clouds. Clouds are impermanent, but the sky is stable. She realized that the immense sky had been within her heart since the very beginning. This great insight brought her peace and happiness. As she saw the vast, wonderful blue sky, she knew that her peace and stability would never be lost again. That afternoon, the clouds returned, but this time she did not want to possess any of them. She could see the beauty of each cloud, and she was able to welcome all of them. When a cloud came by, she would greet him or her with loving kindness. When that cloud wanted to go away, she would wave to him or her happily and with loving kindness. She realized that all the clouds are her. She didn't have to choose between the clouds and herself. Peace and harmony existed between her and the clouds. Think about it for yourselves. That evening, something wonderful happened. When she opened her heart completely to the evening sky, she received the image of the full moon, beautiful, round, like a jewel within herself. She had never imagined she could receive such a beautiful image. There's a very beautiful poem in Chinese. It says, "The fresh and beautiful moon is traveling in the utmost empty sky. When the mind rivers of living beings are free, that image of the beautiful moon will reflect in each of us." This was the mind of the river at that moment. She received the image of the beautiful moon within her heart, and water, clouds, and moon took each other's hands and practiced walking meditation slowly, slowly to the ocean. That's typical Thich Nhat Hanh. There's nothing to chase after. We can go back to ourselves, enjoying our breathing, our smiling, ourselves, and our beautiful environment. Now, that story is really the story of what I want to teach you about today, because it's really a very important teaching. I think the first time I discovered that space, light, and appearance was in India in 2013. And I'd been on the path for very long. But when I went to Tai Situ, I told you all, he made me first stabilize my mind. And then he gave me about a 2-hour introduction, which even when I look back today, I think it was probably the turning point of my life. I really think it was probably the turning point of my life, but I didn't really know that at that particular point. But one of the books that I could find in the bookstore at Sherabling in India was this Bond text on the heart of the Dharmakaya. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen to be one of the books that I packed in to come to my new house. I couldn't take anything out of it anymore, and it was a long time ago. But I was very attracted to that book after this introduction from Tai Situ Rinpoche, which kind of included these three: space, light, and appearance. And I was blown away, absolutely blown away. And it made total sense to my life and purpose. And all I wanted to do, like the river, was open up and find out who we were, how we operated, and what it was. Now, Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche, who's also Nicola's favorite person, that's why I'm sorry you can't be on the video today, gives such a simple, special teaching on them. And I want to just add a little to impart his beautiful teaching based on my own experience of them, and we have to also realize that the Bardo teachings on death and dying include the three. And because we are free of the physical, which is really, really important, because we are free of the physical, we can experience them if we are not deluded. And we can attain liberation. If you are able to understand this teaching, you can definitely attain liberation. There's no doubt. If not now, then at death, because you will know what you're seeing and you will understand what you're seeing, and you will know, just like the river, that it is not outside of yourself, but it is inside yourself. And when you come to death, the inside shows outwards. It's not really outward. It's just revealing itself to you. And so if you can recognize, know, then you're okay. So let's give some similes. Mans, if you could put on your camera, please do, because I want all of you to be present today. Okay, so let's look at the 3 similes. He calls it space, light, appearance. You can also call it mother, sun, and energy. You'll see in the Bardo teaching, it says so much. The sun goes onto the mother's lap and joins together with the mother. And everything you're seeing is energy. So those are 3. Another 3 words for those similes are your essence, your nature, and your unlimited energy, which you often hear me talking about a lot, okay? Or another simile for these words is emptiness, awareness, luminous or luminosity or clarity, the nature, and the unity or the inseparability of those 2, the mother and the sun are together, the space and the light are together, the essence and the nature are together. Or you can call them Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya. Or you can call them, I'm just giving you all the ones that I looked, that I felt inside myself so that you can relate to one of them. Or you can call them primordial purity, that's your essence, your base. Spontaneous presence. When I first read about that and heard about spontaneous presence, it really hit me between the eyes, because spontaneous presence, spontaneous means natural. Presence means the natural nature of that essence, primordial purity, spontaneous presence, infinite display. Just goes on and on, the energy displaying itself. Or the last 2, the view, the meditation, and the conduct, or the base, the path, and the fruition. Now, if you look at all of those similes, you suddenly realize that is me. That's who I am. Those 3 are inseparable in your life, in your death, in your being, everything that you are. Those 3 are inseparable. Do you want to just let them out and close the door and goodbye to them? They're in and out, in and out. Whatever they do. Okay. Why does the discovery of these 3 change our lives, our perceptions, how we see and understand ourselves? When one truly understands these 3, all the temporary, transient, aging, illness, difficulties dissolve, and we get a revolutionary idea of who we are, in fact. Who are we? I know I'm always talking about who we are, who we are. Leave it open, Eve. Just leave the door open and don't worry. Okay, who we are, we really get an idea of who we are. In fact, the struggle is over. None of the so-called external circumstances can change who we really are. Let that sink in. No matter what you're going through, does not affect who you are. So don't attach and really, really, really hold on to what's going on in your life, because in 1 minute, it's going to be over, 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 over. And it's only your response to what you had. If you attach to it and you can't let go, you can't understand these three within yourself, okay? And so we usually get them through a pointing out instruction. But remember, everybody, you could get a pointing out instruction from a great master, and you could not get it at all, which I've had a few that I didn't get, okay? So you can say, I'd love to have a pointing out instruction, but sometimes the master will give you one sentence or not even a sentence. He'll give you a symbol, or he'll give you a something in the air, and you won't get it because you're not ready. You're not ready to understand it. So what I'm trying to do is make you ready. And the discovery of how spacious our beings are, and yet it's not ordinary empty space. It's not just ordinary empty space. It's full with a luminous, aware nature, a clear, clear nature. It doesn't change like everything else in your life. It can accommodate everything with no judgment, and then it can express itself in a pure way. And how are we expressing ourselves in a pure way? It's really, really difficult to know. You know, last night I had a funny experience, which I'll share now because I think it's quite relevant here. We arrived at this place, some good friends of ours having a birthday, and it was outside in the garden. It was freezing cold. So I was really cold, and I'm pressurized. We've been out so much, and I really didn't want to go out, although I love the people whose party it was. So of course I would go, and we couldn't find our way there, and a whole big business. But anyway, we get there. And so we land up. The only place for us to sit is on these tall stools. And this couple's there. She's very friendly. I don't know, from a bar of soap or anything. Anyway, but I sat down there. There was no other space to sit down in. And we started talking. And then we started talking about their background. They grew up in Arcadia, which was the Jewish orphanage at that time. And so I was telling him my experience of all my friends at Arcadia and all of that. And we were talking and sharing. We got quite friendly and pally and everything. And then I wanted to give them something different. But then somehow they said that they were going to sell this house that they'd been in for the last 30 years. And we discover that the house that they live in was Ian and Rhona's burn. So it was the house where I used to teach for years and years. They built me this beautiful thing, and that was their house. Okay. And they changed the whole room where I used to always teach and everything. They changed the whole room. But I just thought, this is remarkable. And they both said, well, Melanie, we just had to meet you. You know, they said, do you know that Ian died? I said, of course I know that Ian died. He died in my husband's business, you know, so of course I know. And I'm very friendly with him. But isn't that the strangest thing, that you come late and you sit in the garden and they are living in the house? They've got a background that I can contribute something to. And they're living in the house where I taught for years and years and years. And I told them that in their lounge, I used to run these beautiful bereavement groups. Some of you might even remember them, that I ran. Bern will definitely remember them, where they used to put these beautiful white tablecloths with lovely food on, and then I ran it for lots and lots of weeks. So I said, in your house, there's a lot of energy. Anyway, the conclusion was, well, Melanie, we must have really been meant to meet you tonight. And they were meant to meet. There's no way that in a big party I would ever have landed up, except that we were late and that was the only place to sit. But you realize these temporary, transient situations that you're in, you know, are so strange. We linked with people and then they're impermanent and they disappear. And then we linked again and then they disappear. And who are we? Who are we as, you know, as that person? Who are we? And what is our role here? And this is what you got to keep asking yourself, especially when you feel really, hard done by. Now, in the secret teachings of Padmasambhava, where Kenneth Lipman is the translator that I was teaching earlier, I just want to read you what he says, and then let's go straight on to Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche. He says, Dzogchen, the highest level of practice you can get, is wholeness, completeness. It means that understanding what is, not what is there, what is this, what is, understanding what is in any moment or situation very liberating. If you just get it, like, what was I doing there last night? What is? What happened? How did I get these people I would never have met in a million years, and know their background and be able to relate to their background and all the things. How does it happen? He says, wholeness and completeness means that understanding what is in any moment or situation is liberating. In Dzogchen, this what is, in inverted commas, is explained in terms of essence, Norwo in Tibetan, nature, Rangzin, and energy, Tukje. Those are the three words that I've given you early. He says, what is these three, which is so incredible. So whether one is a beginner or not, the outlook, the practice, and the way of taking the practice out into the world are the same. And the most important sentence here, he says, to know and experience, the essence, nature, energy of one's situation. This is to maintain the beginner's mind. The beginner's mind, remember, is not someone who's dick. It's someone who hasn't got preconceived ideas. So when they talk about the beginner's mind, they're talking about when a child walks into a temple, they don't go, is that, is this, that, is that, why is that like that? They just see in the beginner's mind is fresh, open. They get it. They see, okay, what it is. That's to maintain the beginner's mind. The essence of the beginner's mind is emptiness. Its nature is clarity, and its energy is unceasing, non-dual manifestation. So there is nothing outside of you. Everything you see, everything you experience is a reflection from your mind. And he says, in this process, we can actually begin to unify our scattered energy into the central channel. Because the central channel doesn't have black and white, right and wrong. It just is what is right there. And that's why we take the scattered energy and we try and get non-distraction. Non-distraction means we are focused, we are clear, but you can still be doing things, but you don't lose that mindfulness, that awareness. You don't lose it in any way. It's really, really very important. Then we're going to go on to Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche. Does anyone want to ask or say or comment or anything? You're really welcome, because I want to teach this stuff very, very slowly, okay? I want to teach it slowly because I really, really feel this is the most important thing for your life and the most important thing for your death. Because if you know these three, not talk about them, read about them, that's when I got to know them. In India, when I saw that the essence is emptiness, it's just spacious and can accommodate everything, that the nature is awareness, clarity, luminosity. That's the nature of the essence. They can never be separated. and that what manifests is pure. It's pure. It's non-dual. So like the first day when I got that news of Trump winning, you know, for me, never mind all the policies and all of that, although subsequently, obviously, I've looked at those. But on that day, I actually felt nauseous. When I saw this landslide victory, I actually felt nauseous. And then when I sat down to meditate that morning, I said to myself, now, Melanie, you need to open your wisdom eye. You need to see what is. You need to see what this is about. Don't take your Melanie version with bias and prejudice. See what this is about. And I came to a lot of conclusion as to why 3/4 of America voted for him, even though he hadn't been for me. I'm not even talking about policy here. I'm not getting into politics, but I think it's so important to have enlightened leaders of the world, not leaders that spew forth vindictive things from morning till night and always want revenge. I think that's the opposite of what our awakened nature really wants. But I looked so deeply. I'm not going to give you what I found. I found a lot of things. And what I did was I started listening to a lot of people wherever we were going, people who were supporters of him. I just asked them, tell me why. Tell me what it is that you saw. And one thing I did realize was that people are so afraid of losing their identities. They are so afraid of people coming into their country and taking away their identity that they've had in all their traditions, that they will do anything that puts into their head that you can keep your pure identity and so on. And really, I think that's what people think. We cling onto our identities, but after all, that's not even our identity. Our identity is this that I'm talking to you about. And when you come to the portal of death, that is when everything dissolves, and then you see the truth about yourself. Now think of the millions of beings that don't see it. They just get absolutely petrified. And then they're catapulted into the next body, and the next body they don't recognize. This is me. They don't know. This is who I really am. This is my true identity. And so they cannot liberate themselves. They go into the body of becoming, and then they see all the karmic imprints. Those are all impermanent, temporary, transient. They are absolutely everything that we aren't. And we cling onto them in every conceivable way. So it's so important that you understand this teaching. Does anybody want to say anything or ask anything? Please feel free. I'm very happy, because I don't care if we do this one sentence at a time, but I want you to really get it and understand it.
Melanie, I have a question.
Please.
One thing that always, when listening about these similes, these words, these topics, is how do we actually put that into practice?
Yeah, good question. It's really good, and I hope at the end of the teaching you'll be able to put it into your life, because it's really important. You're 100% on the mark, because that's what Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche helps us. He actually has one chapter in the book, and I'm going to do that after I've taught all of this. One thing in his book, and it goes like this. Just let me get that particular title so I can give it to you. How the conditional body develops. The conditional body is the wrong identity. Okay, so it gives you how the conditional body develops, and then after it tells you how to what the body of light is really about. When he tells you what the body of light is really about, the next headline is the body of light in daily life, Tati. The body of life in daily life. And I'm going to do that with you. In other words, he tells you, now, how can you apply this in your life? How do you start? Let's say you don't have the privilege of having an introduction from a master. Let's say you haven't got the full merit to understand this properly, but you're really, really, really interested in it. And you want to take yourself to a higher level in many ways. He gives you the way of recognizing the light. You know, I can't explain it to you other than to say, sometimes in India, when I would actually view the natural, non-dual manifestation of the energy from those two, and I would see it, I used to get up in my room and I used to go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. There was no one to share it with. But I was actually seeing what we were capable of. And all those years later, I kind of I forget about it because I haven't got the same place and the same energy and the same, the same environment to see it in the way that I did then. And so, but I know that it was there, and of course I can never forget it. But when you actually see, then, Tatiana, you start to look at people in a completely different way, in a different light, in a different way. Because suddenly, if you take a character like Trump, okay, I'm looking at him in my mind's eye, but not with Melanie perception. I'm looking. How did people create this? How did they get there? What's their perceptions? How did they get to perceive that the world would be changed with someone who wasn't enlightened or wasn't in it? You look very, very deeply. And you look very deeply at every single person and every single being. You see them not as you perceive them, but how you see them in their true state. And that's how you start applying it in your life. You just get a glimpse. I'm sure all of you have definitely had a dream where you go, oh, I woke up and there was this light, or oh, I was flying here and suddenly I saw this. Okay, and then what we do with those dreams is we put them away. Or when you walk into the temple in Kensington, you cannot help yourself. If you're quiet, you go, oh, something here. You can't help yourself. And when you glimpse all these things in the world, you suddenly start having a different perception, and you start with yourself to see who you really are. So it's very important, and we'll come to that for sure. But let's do a little more teaching. He says, to understand the conditions that are necessary for the body to dissolve into pure space and light, whether you're here or whether you're in death, you first need to understand the nature of this, the nature of this pure space and light, and the pure appearances that arise from them. He says, in the Dzogchen teachings, space is commonly referred to as the mother. Light is called the sun. I don't know why, the sun probably, not S-U-N, S-O-N, the child, okay? It wouldn't be the daughter because the mother's the feminine presence, so it would be the sun, okay? The sun, S-O-N. And appearances is energy. Let me read that again. In the Dzogchen teachings, space is commonly referred to as the mother, light as the sun, and appearances as energy. the mother, the light, and the energy. So that when you are dying, and we'll come to the dying teachings later, when you are dying, the mother presents herself first, the clearest light, like the river when all the clouds were gone, the mother presents herself first. And you are the sun. And as they say in a lot of the Bardo teaching, the sun unites with the mother, climbs onto the mother's lap. So when you know that you are light and that you belong to the mother, the essence, the emptiness, that sun, S-O-N, can join with the mother without a doubt. Okay, without a doubt. Once they are together, then liberation occurs. Okay, he says, space is called the mother because it is the source, the origin. If you look around the room, everything in your room is space, but that's ordinary space. This is not ordinary space, but everything's made of space. If you examine the body is first made of space. Then all the other things come in. Space is the mother, the source, the origin. All appearances arise from space, are hosted by space, and dissolve back into space. Space is known as Kunzi, K-U-N-Z-H-I, with 2 dots on the U. Kunzi. Space is known as Kunzi, the base of all, the essence, the Dharmakaya, out of which everything arises. That's called space, or Kunzi. The space referred here is not the space within an empty room, or the space an object takes up. It's our own nature, the empty nature of self. Space is our nature. If only we would tap into it. Now, just to say that when you die, space is the very first thing, but not ordinary space. The mother Kunzi base appears to us. Now, you know how many people can't get that, don't recognize that, can't get to connect with that Kunzi, that space. They can't. It's too bright. It's too overwhelming. And remember, lots of people are clutching onto their identity. Their families are going, don't go, don't die, please. And they're clutching onto that. And who's going to take my possessions? And who's going to have my house? And what about all these people? How are they going to manage without me? We are too preoccupied with the expression, and not even the pure expression, to actually recognize the base. Okay, so it's the space where we try to abide during meditation. It's the space from which we can observe our thoughts arising, the space into which they dissolve, the space of pure consciousness. Do you all realize that your thoughts are exactly like the clouds in the river that the river saw? Your thoughts are like that. As soon as you try and pick them up, grasp them, possess them, you're unhappy because there's nothing to possess, because they all have the nature of the space of the Kunzi. So we can't pick them up. But if you allowed your thoughts to just come up and you allowed them to liberate of themselves and come back, go dissolve into the space, there would be no problem. It's as soon as we go, yeah, I have to do this today. I don't know why I'm like that. And when we're holding on to the thought and then we're analyzing it, and what should I do, and how should I do it, and where should I do it, and what should I do? How can it dissolve? Because you're seeing it as tangible, but it isn't even tangible. Neither are your emotions, for that matter. It's the same thing. So It's the space from which we can observe our thoughts arising. It's the space into which they dissolve. It's the space of pure consciousness, pure consciousness. The mother is the base of both samsara and nirvana, the base of everything, from the tiniest insect to the primordial Buddha Samantabhadra or Kunta Zangpo, if you like it in Tibetan. Everything. It is omnipresent, pervasive, and changeless. It never changes. Do you know that even if we abuse the planet, the mother doesn't change? She's always there. There's no change. There's nothing you can point to. It is unobscured, rootless, naked, primordially undiluted. It's just the pure space with the energy of the nature. It cannot be improved or worsened by causes or conditions. It has no form, no color, no shape. Space is like the sky, infinitely vast and boundless. It pervades everything, and everything is perfected in it. Okay about the space. Is that enough to tell you? I really think you should try, not try, you should allow yourself to see it, to actually experience it. And I know you say, how? If you sat and you weren't running after all your thoughts, and you weren't running and involved with all your emotions and all your problems and all your difficulties and all your everything, you'd automatically be in space, because it's who you are. It's not something out there, it's who you are. So what's the light? That's the space, the mother, the base, emptiness, whatever you want to call it, primordial purity, everything, that's the mother. What's the light? The light is called the sun, S-O-N, okay, S-O-N, because it arises from the mother and is inseparable from the mother. If the mother is the clear, empty sky, then the sun, S-O-N, is like the sun, S-U-N, in the sky, because it's the light of the mother. So when you come into a body, you're still the light of the mother. When you return back, you still, if you return back like these masters do while you're in a body, you would manifest exquisite things. I mean, when I just look at, I can't reach it now. When I do my Guru Yoga from Dilgo Khyentse's book that he wrote on Guru Yoga, and every day when I open it, I look at his picture, and his picture's got a smile that is beyond any smile that any of us could ever have. I always take the book and I put it to here and to here every time I pick that book up, because his smile. And I had somebody I was counseling who just couldn't, this person could not get to their beautiful nature. They understand the beautiful nature, but they couldn't get to it. They keep on going on about all the things that aren't working and all the things that aren't, and whether this relationship's going to work out or not. So preoccupied with that. And I just took this book and I said, I want to show you a picture. And so I showed him the picture, and he said, oh my God. And I said, can you be like this picture? Can you radiate that smile that says everything when you come into the room, that attracts everybody to you, that is the mother and the sun in manifestation? I said, when you can smile like that, you will be able to absorb all the difficulties in your relationships, in everything. So if the mother is the clear, empty sky, then the sun, S-O-N, is like the sun in the sky. The light that illuminates the space, okay? When we speak of this light, we are not referring to physical light or an appearance similar to a tree, a rock, or some other object appearing in space, let's say like a torch or a lamp or something, not like that. Rather, that light refers to the subtle light of awareness. It's the knowing in this base. It's the absolute knowing, the absolute awareness in this base. That is what the light is, the awareness of the base. When we abide in deep meditation and connect with the vast openness of space, where subtle dualities are dissolved, all your problems, all your issues, all your thinking, all your financial problems, it's all dissolved when you can meditate on it, okay? Where the subtle dualities are really dissolved, recognition of that space is the sun, S-O-N, okay? At the same time, that recognition that we have of the mother as the sun is no different to what is being recognized. It's just called self-realization. I am the light, and in me is the mother. The mother is in the light. Mother and son are inseparable. There's no awareness without emptiness, and no emptiness without awareness. They are absolutely together. And this luminous self-awareness of the mind is known as Rigpa, the nature of mind, the clarity of the natural state, the Sambhogakaya. It's clear, it's luminous, it's vivid, it's exquisite, it's part of the base. It's the nature, it's awareness, okay? The sense of clarity cannot be explained or analyzed by the conceptual mind. You can't say, this is what the clarity is like, because then you won't be getting it in any way. It's the sun experiences just as a mirror experiences. So here is the sun, and the mirror, what the mirror does is everything appears clearly there. Color, beauty, form. But this mirror never judges, never imputes, never analyzes. It's the clear, direct perception in the base. So just think of this. Here is this mother. Here is this clarity. It's absolutely clear and aware, and therefore it doesn't even have to think, what am I going to do next? It's just automatic. Okay, coming to the appearance now, because that's, if anybody wants to ask about the mother and the son in any way, you're welcome, or what we called right in the beginning of the light, you know, the essence and the light, or the base and the light, or the, what did I call the thing, what he calls it? The space, the light, and the appearance. So that's the space and the light together, never ever separated. Now, we're not talking about something out there, we're talking about something in here. Do you get it? Do you know that you are that being? There's no doubt. Whether you're carrying it out is another story, because maybe you don't recognize it, and we're going to come on to how this thick, deluded body develops when we don't get that. But let's go to the appearance, okay? Appearance, so we've got the space, the light, and the appearance. So now we're going on to the appearance. We've done the space and the light. Appearances are referred to as energy. Energy, simple energy. because everything that appears in our experience is essentially composed of energy. Everything from our random thoughts, from our recollections, from our emotions, from what we see in all our sense perceptions, they're all energy. That's all they are. Whether you interpret them as negative is from you, but the actual appearance is absolutely pure, is energy. That's all it is, okay? So we may be thinking, he says, of our plans for today. You may be sitting here and thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do today. I've got to do this, I've got to do that. You may not even be concentrating on the talk, okay? We may be thinking of our plans for today, remembering what we did yesterday, feeling angry in a traffic jam, enjoying the taste of food. Whatever we are going through, all appearance is energy. Energy is manifestation. It's manifestation from the mother and the son, or from the emptiness and the nature, or from the space and the light comes a manifestation. Everything in our lives is a manifestation. And it's called the Nirmanakaya, because the Nirmanakaya is the pure manifestation of the energy. In the Dzogchen tradition, now I want you to listen very carefully. Energy in its purest aspect. So remember, we see it impurely because of our own delusions. But energy in its purest aspect is referred to in three ways: sound, light, and rays. Sound, light, and rays, those three. Now it's very, very interesting, because when you read the Bardo teachings, you'll see, go back to any of your books on the Bardo teaching, you'll see that sound, light, and rays are what meets us when we come into the Bardo. Those three, because those are the three manifestations of the energy. I'll tell you what they are in a minute. If Rigpa is the sun of self-awareness, S-U-N, that is lighting up all of the sky, then sound, light, and rays are the sun's radiant energy that is illuminating all appearance. So fascinating when you look at it. So fascinating. And he tells it so clearly. So think about what I'm saying. You've got this mother, pure, you can think of it as the sky. The sky is not just plain sky, not just plain space. It's got this luminous awareness, this clarity awareness clearly in it. And then it starts manifesting, and it manifests in pure ways, in three ways. I'll tell you what they are in a moment, but just to know the names: sound, light, and rays. Very important, because those are the three that you come across as soon as you come into the Bardo, as soon as the mother light is, you haven't seen it, you haven't received it, you haven't been able to go into the clear light, then the sound, light, and rays appear. And I'll tell you what they are now, okay? They're the sun's radiant energy that is illuminating all appearance. Although we normally perceive external and internal appearances having their own inherent existence, in absolute reality, every object and person and the mind itself are empty. None of them are tangible. We see them as tangible, but they're not really tangible. All appearances have the nature of space. In the first moment that sound, light, and rays arise, before our deluded mind can impute its dualistic perception, I'll give you an example now. These three great visions are each experienced as pure self-manifestation of our own primordial state inseparable from the base, inseparable from the mother. So what is he saying here? He's saying, if you didn't go into, when you see something, if you didn't go into, oh, that's a pretty girl, I think she's really pretty, but she should do this and this and this to herself. If we never went that, but we saw people in their pure state, okay, it wouldn't be something outside of themselves. Like when I was looking at my last night experience, I manifested those people and they manifested me. Nothing's actually outside of yourself. All of it is your own mirror reflecting what you're needing at any particular time. But if you see it outside of yourself, with your perception, with your analysis, with your everything, if you see it as duality outside of yourself, it becomes thick and coarse. And then we believe, oh, why am I getting tortured? Oh, why am I this? When these masters were being tortured, sometimes they got into the torture and they forgot to have compassion for the torturer, and they were very disturbed by that. We would be thinking, oh my God, look at this person torturing me. And they're thinking, the compassion must shine because something is being purified in me. They're not looking at an external object. So let me just give you these three, and then I want to tell you something interesting. Sound, the first thing you see, is like an echo. Sound that is returning to its source. So interesting, because I told you when I asked Taisitu Rinpoche, when I asked him, what is the sound of Dharmata here? He said, you can't explain it. I said, well, where do you hear it? And he said, when I'm on an aeroplane, I just put my head back like that and I hear it. Now, I want you all to just block your ears for a minute, block both of them, and listen. Hard, block them hard. Can you hear sound? That sound is the sound of Dharmata. Try it, experiment with it. Because it's not the sound of my voice, your voice talking. It's the inner sound, like an echo, sound that is returning to its source. Now, when you haven't got a physical body and you actually go back in death, you hear that sound loud. They say, like the sound of 1,000 thunderclaps. It's just the natural sound going back to its source, the base. Very interesting, because you should try and hear it. I hear it a lot when I'm doing my practice. Sometimes I just sit quietly for a while. Then I start to hear that. It starts with a zzz, and then it goes, ooh. It's completely different to what you hear in your physical sound. So sound is like that. Light is like a rainbow, the unconditioned aspect of luminosity that arises from emptiness, dwells in the empty nature of mind and dissolves back into that empty nature. That's what I was seeing, the light like a rainbow. The colors are so vivid. I've never seen colors like that in my whole life, okay? I think artists probably see those colors of the light of the rainbow. And rays are like the sun's rays emanating out and reflecting back from all appearance. Now I want to give you a very interesting thing, and then we'll do a meditation. Listen carefully, because which book is it in? No, it's not in that, it's in this. When I was studying the book Boundless Vision, it's a very fascinating book. For those of you that want to attempt it, it's a really fascinating book, okay? Now, when I was reading it, I was absolutely astounded at some of the things, because he was talking about all these things maybe more difficult than Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche is. But I want you to listen what I picked up, and I wrote it in my diary book because I thought it was so interesting, and I found it now. Okay. The self-release of the 5 sense faculties. Now we see with our eyes, we hear with our ears, we taste with our tongue, all the rest of them. Okay. Now let's take sight. In the consciousness of the visual field, the form arises in the eye, the physical eye. So I'm looking at this dish with my physical eye. Okay. In the initial moment that I see this, that's before I've started to say, this is a nice dish. I could do my meditation with it. I think I'll buy one. How much does it cost? Before all of that, okay, in the initial moment, the physical, that's the sight, the energetic, that's the speech, the sound, and the mental aspects are known in a single perception. So think what I'm saying. When you see something, same with when you hear something, when you feel something, in the initial moment, there's no tainting, there's nothing. You see it as it is. And then in the next moment, the thought process proliferate, and the form and the eyes that see and the active sensory process become 3 separate entities. They become, I'm seeing, and now this is what I'm thinking about it. That's my mental process. And this is what I'm hearing about it. They become 3 processes. But in your initial moment, they one. They just like when you hear the gong, it's one. There's no analysis. Now, what is he saying? Tulku Thondup is his wonderful teacher. He says, in the liberated mind, they are divisible in unitary spaciousness. They are one taste. When I see you, when you walk into a room, before I start to say, she's badly dressed, or she doesn't understand, or I don't like this person, or wow, I'm attracted to this person. Before, there's a moment of pure perception. And we have to go back to that moment. We have to stop the judging, analyzing, and all of that. We have to stop, because we can't see the pure vision until we stop. You know, you walk into a room and you go, I've got a feeling. It's like when you go into the temple in Kensington, you have a feeling instant. You can't help the awe of the place and everything. You have a feeling before you start to say, but I wonder if they'll get people to come and listen to the teachings. And I wonder if this, and wow, look what they've done. Just in your pure perception in the moment, even people that you don't like, you just get a glimpse of them for a moment before the mind starts analyzing and turning over and everything. And that's your pure perception. Now, that's what he's talking about when he says, before our deluded mind can impute its dualistic perception, these 3 great visions, sound, light, and rays, are each experienced as a pure self-manifestation of our own primordial state, inseparable from the base, inseparable from the mother. They all come from the mother, and they're all the mother. Now, when you die, for goodness sake, when you hear the sound of Dhammata, don't go, oh my God, as a lot of people do, I'm fainting. You say, let me hear it purely. Let me see this light. This that I'm seeing is actually me. It's not even outside me. It's me. I must recognize it, re-know it, and then you liberate it. You don't have to come back to these incarnations over and over again, struggling. If you can just see what I'm saying today, I've got lots more to tell you, and I've got all my what's the name books with all their notes, and I've got all my things here. I've got tons to tell you, but you need to tell me when it's enough, because I can stop teaching it very easily if you think it's too difficult. I like to hear how you feel. David, now that you are back in the world, what are you feeling about what I'm saying? You can get.
Yeah, well, it's as long as I remember that all phenomena, especially my own subjective sense of self, are an empty display of space and light, then I'm free. So, but to remember it in the moment when my partner's wagging her finger at me, or some financial matter is stressing me out, then to maintain that awareness of the emptiness of space and light is easier said than done. And I normally have to reconstitute that awareness after the fact, after I've lost the plot, and then I rebuild that awareness, that view. So it's a daily, ongoing, present, continuous task.
Exactly. But when you get a different view, even once, and it might take us a whole lifetime to get a different view, but when you get a different view, even once, it's amazing. And then you start building on that. It's so crazy in many ways, because I find myself open to so many things, but then I also found that I get impatient. And my son's staying here and he says to me, God, you're so impatient. And I said, am I? I actually see myself as very patient, because I listen to so many people and all their garbage and all their stuff and all their whatever they're telling me at one given time. I don't see myself as impatient, but it's very interesting if you are told that, to look again at yourself, because you have to have those glimpses of that pure light. And then you start having more and more and more, and then you start becoming that. And then you realize when you're in the doldrums, when you're in a terrible situation, you realize, okay, that you can see this purely. That's what the Buddha said. He said to Shariputra, if you can't see that he was able to, with his great powers, just show him the pure land of where he was at that moment, because Shariputra said he doesn't understand why the Buddha's in this impure land. So the Buddha, with his powers, was able to show the pure land. He said, whose fault is it? If the beholder can't see it, does it mean it's true? It's so important for all of you. When I discovered these three things, emptiness, awareness, and unlimited manifestation of energy, it changed everything in my whole life. It really did. And I really remember very clearly once that I was looking at my legs in the retreat, and I saw this rainbow light on my legs. So I said to Taisitu, when I saw him, I said to him, I was looking at my legs. I had my legs up in the air. And I said, I was looking at my legs and I saw that they were made of rainbow light. And he didn't say, well done or anything. He said, Ah, but when you can put your hand through them, then you have some attainment. So in other words, you can start seeing your body as rainbow light, okay? You can start seeing it, but to believe it, you have to become like those masters who could put footprints in the rock, and who Milarepa, who could fit inside a yak horn. We'll come to all of that, but the thing is, it's so interesting because, you know, because you still see it as solid even when you see it as rainbow. You can't get there. So it's up to you to change all your perceptions. So let's do a little meditation, then I'll leave you for question. I think that's enough for one day. It's really a lot of stuff, but it's not really a lot. It's just those three aspects, and they're so like the back of my hand, and I hardly ever teach them, even though they are the basis of my whole life. So I just thought after last week when we were doing the obstacles and going through things, I just thought, no, this is really a beautiful time that I've come across. And I know Nicola always says it attends and Wanyel Rinpoche has such a beautiful way of explaining things very, very, very simply. Him and Anam Tupten, both of them, explain things very, very simply. And if it's complex for you, then please ask me. Don't hesitate to ask me. I'm not expecting you to understand all of this in one go. It's taken me years to even vaguely understand it, never mind experience it, because you've got to go understanding, experiencing, realization. When you get to realization, you're as free as a bird in the sky. Of free, boy. Let's do some meditation. So let's go back to you just put your things onto mute. I want you all to breathe in and breathe out, but I really want you to use the spaciousness of your mind to breathe in. So I want you to just for one moment know who you are and breathe into that absolute open spaciousness. Everything is the blue sky, open and spacious. And you are breathing in, taking it into your being, realizing that it's not outside, it's outside and it's inside. And as you breathe out, I want you to just stop clutching. Stop clutching. Just let it all be, however it is. Even if you're hating your life in this moment, just let it all be. Absolutely surrender it into the spaciousness, because it's going to go back into the spaciousness anyway, completely and totally. So breathe in, really take in a beautiful breath, and breathe out all your hang-ups, all your negative thoughts, all your negative emotions. Remember, they just dissolve like the clouds in the sky, like the waves in the ocean. The ocean does not need to do anything about the waves. It just lets them be. So I want you just for one moment to let go of all the things you're struggling with. Where should I live? What should I do? How should I handle this difficult child? How can I go further in my life? What should I do? Where should I go? Just let all of them be, as though you were surrendering to a great blue sky, the ultimate mother, with whom you are totally attached. Not attached in the sense, but you are totally a part of her. So allow yourself to feel that. And as you are entering that beautiful base, the mother, open, kunzi, space, essence, dharmakaya, primordial purity, pure base. As you entering into that, I want you to just experience the light, the luminosity, the clarity. It's as though there are this buzzing sound which continually goes inside the mother. Experience it, experience it. They are one. When you die, you unite back. You have her in you and you unite back to her. You are the son and you unite with the mother. No separation. And while you are in life, no separation. Now try and experience this. Just allowing it. And when you can do it in your own time. Then the absolutely limitlessness, absolute endless energy, pure, creates manifestations. None of them are tainted. They're pure, light, luminous, sound, returning to its echo, light, rainbow light, rays, absolutely lighting the way. That's how the pure energy manifests itself. And you are that, no less, no less. As you step out into the world with your shoulders back and experience the world, experience it as the mother and the sun and the unlimited energy. Allow yourself to step into the world in your pure beauty. And know that when you step out of this world, you will step back into that. No fear, just the confidence that you are going back to the space, the kunzi, the base, the mother, the emptiness. You will hear the sound, light, and rays. This loud inner sound. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid of the brightness of the colors. Do not be afraid of anything. And when you are meditating on this alone, in your little meditation place, you will see the Vajra strands of awareness. I will give you that next time, what the Vajra strands of awareness look like. You see them in front of you, these little squiggly things, like horse's hair, like round things. You see them, and then you know that is the energy in its pure manifestation. And we can all experience that. I experienced that before I actually learned any of this. Remember that the mother the essence, the emptiness, the primordial purity is omnipresent, pervasive, changeless. Nothing you can point to, but it's all you. So when you are in doubt and in trouble, going through trials and tribulation, just know that you are her. You are the mother light. And listen while I gong, right to the end of the gong. Practice, everybody, practice. You know, when I read Tulku Urjan's book, The 100 Deity Practice, every single day I learn something else about this. Every day. And like I thought today, should I put some references? But how can I put references in the golden letters in my books that I've summarized? I've got so much in his beautiful book, The Tibetan Yogas of Body, Speech, and Mind. You should all look at that because it's really good. And so much stuff. And also, what's his name? Namkha Norbu. His stuff as well, which is absolutely amazing on those three. There's so many, there's so much you can study. But just relax with it and know that that's who you are. That's my best teaching that I can give. Oh, you can't hear the gong even when, okay, don't worry about it. But when you do your gong at home, follow it right to the end and see how it is. So let's dedicate, and then if anybody wants to ask anything, I'm very happy to do it. Let's dedicate to all the chaos all over the world and the wars. May they end, and may people really realize this is all temporary, transient, and everybody, may they all know and experience the essence, nature, and energy of their own situations and what's really going on and how they got to be in this situation. Through this merit, may all beings attain omniscience, may all obscurations fall away from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. From the ocean of samsara, may all beings be freed. Sonam die tamche zipane topne nepe tranam pamshene chegana chi balak tropaye sipe sole dowa drowarsho.